Hello, I'm Barbara Gon Mueller, and founder and host for peacepodcast.org, and I welcome you. Do you realize, as Tammy Briggs in Minnesota says, Barbara, you have 160 podcasts, and my goal this year in 2025 is to listen to all 160 and the ones that you keep having every week. And I said, thank you, Tammy. Thank you for getting the inspiration from these people. And I want to tell you why I started this. I wanted to inspire others to believe that they too could be part of peace on the planet. And we are founded for peace, happiness, and the culture of peace worldwide. And today's guest, can you imagine anybody having an impact in 154 countries through the children and through making small little muscles work to build peace cranes? Welcome, Sue DiCicco.
Thank you, Barbara. It was really a pleasure to be here, and I feel honored to be number 160.
160 podcasts, and Sue DiCicco. Sue DiCicco is a dear, dear friend. We both live in Santa Barbara. She's been nominated for the Peace Prize, our Santa Barbara Peace Prize. She started out in the film industry as an animator at Walt Disney's company. She is best known for many children's books and creating the Peace Crane Project, helping millions of children around the 154 countries that she has influenced. Imagine also being an artist. That John Denver statue was created by her wonderful hands. You know, I looked on Amazon to her name. She's written over 100, it looks like maybe 200 children's books. Sue DiCicco, all right, I got to find out what motivates you and what got you into peace.
Well, that's an interesting question. I think motivation comes from different places at different times in your life. Um, Early on, I was just interested in art and creating art for children, and as I grew older and became more interested in the world beyond that, I realized that entertainers, artists, these are the people that can change the world. Politicians, not so much. They plod along, they fight, they create animosity, they occasionally pass a good bill. But when you think back in time, it's the artists who've really pushed the hearts and minds of people in different directions. And so the impetus for me really in joining this or creating this project was knowing that I had the background, actually more than any politician or diplomat. I had the background to change the world, and I didn't know how I was going to do it. I floundered around. People actually sent me email and said, "What you're suggesting is impossible," and that was a driver too, because I thought, who would say that to somebody who wants to start a project? But that was my impetus to see how I could move the needle and how I could change the lives of children, because that's my area of expertise.
I just love that you were able to take advantage of these people saying, I don't think you can do it. And don't you love a challenge?
Yeah, you always want to prove them wrong, the naysayers. But obviously other things have driven me. That was just a momentary, wow, why would somebody go out of their way to tell me that, engaging kids around the world wasn't going to be happening? So it's a small thing, but I thought I'd mention it because there are those people. And if you listen to them, nothing ever gets done. They should be more of a motivator than, somebody that stops you.
Absolutely. And you know, you were working with Walt Disney, and I remember you telling me a story at one of our luncheons. You said, I just did an illustration and I sent it to Disney and they hired me. Is that true?
No, that wasn't me that said that. I went to Cal Arts, which was sort of sponsored by Disney, not directly, but the instructors came from there. It was a little tiny group of us. There were 25 students in the program when I was there, learning how to be animators. And I was recruited out of that program. just really lucky. So I went straight from high school into the arms of Disney and really got a great education in all things Disney
Mhm.
and met a lot of really super talented people and enthusiastic about what they do and really driven to excellence.
So
And
what
I
changed
learned a
your
lot.
mind about doing art and working for peace?
Well, I still do art for kids, and until pretty recently, uh, was contracted by Disney to do various things for them. But the working 9 to 5, it was restrictive to me, and I'm really glad that I stepped out and was free to do other things like sculpt the John Denver Memorial and just some incredible other projects. Through him, initially, my connection with him was I built one of the first virtual worlds online to represent his foundation, and we were teaching English globally uh, through this little online portal. I think it was, gosh, maybe early 1990s, and we had warring countries with students side by side, warring countries. The students would come and sit next to one another virtually in these classrooms and learn English. It was really exciting and kind of my first endeavor online, trying to connect people around the world. So, if you're out there and you're looking and you're open to things, things
Mhm.
come your way. That went away with John Denver's death.
Mhm.
That project never really took off, but we had a good run and hosted a lot of kids talking about peace at that time. We invited speakers. We had the environmental advisor to the White House speak to hundreds, maybe thousands of kids around the country uh, virtually. It was one of the first events like that. So I've been in it for a while. I've taken a few swings, and this one really stuck, though.
It's interesting because you said that politicians live and die and their memory is gone. You said artists live and work and their memory continues.
Well, their influence certainly can, and more importantly than them or me or any of us really is the seed that they plant that is then carried forward to the next generation. And that's the key to it. It is just instilling a sense of empowerment in our children so that they feel that they can move forward and make a difference and they have an understanding of the world. No war is won through fear, and there's no victory in that. The victory comes from feeling a passion about something and wanting to share it forward. And so if we're passionate about the richness of the world rather than our differences and how we can strike out against one another, then we're on the right track. But if our passion is strictly hate, we have a lot of what's going on in the country now. So the time to instill it in people is when they're young and impressionable and before they learn to hate.
And they will never forget it. They will be able to make peace cranes with their grandchildren, their great grandchildren. And they'll say, I remember making this peace crane. And why? Because she said, Sadako said, was it Sadako herself or what was her name?
Sadako Sasaki. Uh, but more important than that is who they're meeting through the Peace
Mhm.
Crane
Oh,
Project.
why don't you talk
Because
about that? Yes, yes, yes.
so the idea is they fold the cranes, but then they sign up with me, and the 154 countries comes in because they keep a list of who's looking to exchange. So also is building relationships with school teachers all around the world, and some of them now have been connected for more than a decade. So they've gotten to know each other really well and share things way beyond the Peace Crane Project. But the kids learn about other cultures. If they're studying another language, they can practice their French or their Spanish or
Yes.
their German or whatever and write the letters. And so they feel like they've met kids. They send videos. They connect. So they feel like nobody's going to drop a bomb on a country where they feel like they have a friend. And that's the idea that they build an understanding of people in different cultures and and have that connection so that when they become adults, they're not like, oh, what are those people in X country doing? They're, they'll understand, well, their culture is a little different, and here's what they believe, and here's their living conditions, and here's why we need to look at this in a broader way and come together. So if we can plant the seed now when they're young, in 20 years, we'll have a whole string of diplomats out there that are everyday people.
And
And
that's the dream I have, a whole slew of diplomats for peace around the world. And it does begin with children. I was a teacher many years ago, and as a teacher, these children, we created a small country in our classroom, and they could hardly wait to get into the classroom so that they could be part of something bigger than Santa Barbara. And I think that's what you've done. You've tapped into their dreams, into their wants, and into peace. And then when you said, how could a person have a bomb that would shoot somebody that would be their pal from when they were 8?
yeah, I had a long lost friend recently reconnect. And, I told him I thought of him as a good friend, but I realized he had a lot of friends already. And he said to me, well, there's always room for one more. That's a good thing, So there's always room for one more, and there's always room to bring everybody into a project that's infinitely expandable, and an idea that's infinitely expandable. It doesn't even have to be through me, just the idea of connecting and broadening your horizons. They say that travel is the best education, but this is the next best thing because most of the world doesn't have the freedom to travel to the extent that maybe you or I can. But through this, they travel without leaving their
Yeah,
classroom.
you are, and you're creating global citizens with your Peace Podcasts, I should say Peace Cranes on Peace Podcasts, because we're looking at a world that is shrinking thanks to Zoom. We're looking at a world that is shrinking thanks to the internet. And we both took advantage of that. I took advantage of Zoom from the very beginning. From 2016, I started doing podcasts. As minutes I found out about Zoom, I thought, well, this is the way to create global citizens. They don't have the luxury of traveling in some of these countries. And so these peace podcasts that I've been doing allow them to see what could happen with passion and a determination. And I think passion is so contagious. Have you found
Well,
that with the cranes?
I have, especially among kids, but I think that you have discovered uh the true potential of the internet. I mean, for all its negativity at the moment, and it's being used for evil, really. I think this is the true potential to bring us all together and to get us talking. One of my goals always for the last, I don't know, 10 years has been to bring blue and red states together. I always have more students in the US than anywhere else signing up, and I encourage them pick a different country, pick a different state. Don't worry about other
Yes,
countries
yes.
because what we need to do is talk to one another. The blue state is not your enemy. The red state is not your enemy. We're all in this together. And the sooner we start talking and comparing notes and finding out why we believe what we believe, how do we come together, and how are we being manipulated by powers that do have evil in mind? All the rest of us, we're just like pawns in this game. And if we can come together and let the kids know that we're all Americans and should embrace that.
I think I read on your website peace and understanding through art. And these origami cranes trade allow, and I agree with the United States, totally agree. If we can bring our states together, then we will have more harmony in the United States. And my late husband Robert Mueller at the United Nations, you've had quite a tenure at the United Nations. Talk a little bit about that and how that has helped you be, as Deborah Muldow said, do a project for peace, and how the United Nations has been part of your culture.
Deborah was really instrumental at the beginning. She said, put something together and I'll promote it within
Well, how'd she
there's
find
a,
you?
I think we were Facebook friends. I
Uh-huh.
don't, we have been friends for so long. I don't remember how I met her. But through other activities somehow. I don't know.
Yeah.
But we had an active education committee that was part of the Department of Public Information, I think it's called DPI at the UN, and
Uh-huh.
it was a lot of fun. I took a student one year from Australia who spoke at the UN on Peace Day, which was really a great thrill for me. I think she got a lot out of it, when it helped her going forward, hopefully. But the UN was actively engaged with students on Peace Day, lots of great activities, and it was a lot of fun. I had a grounds pass. I have one again this year, but there doesn't seem to be anything cooking yet. I think the pandemic just really changed so much, and we're just coming out of it for the peace community and the UN, and I'm hoping that we really come together this year. There's a lot of really great projects going on around the world, and many of them need more attention and need to be celebrated, and that's what we try to do within the Peace Day education team.
Right. And for those of you who do not know that it's September 21 is the International Day of Peace. And I think Sue's going to give us an announcement one of these months about something that she has been working on. You know, you never know when something you have started is going to have momentum. But when you keep that passion and your dream alive, the universe supports you. And you've told me story after story about how the universe has supported you and how these peace cranes. I went to the Sadako Peace Gardens in Santa Barbara at La Casa de Maria, and I saw thousands of cranes hanging from the trees. Tammy Briggs, as I mentioned earlier, brought in this museum. I think it's in Tennessee. Let me see here where she said that was. Um, well, I can't find it right off, but she said these inmates were making cranes, peace cranes, and that they were hanging them in museums. So there's so much that you can do with your hands to create the feeling that peace is possible, period.
It's the simplest of art forms, and yet the whole universe lies in a single piece of paper. It's the deeper you go with origami, the more interesting and meditative it becomes. It's really, really fascinating. I've always loved origami, but I've really, of course, spent a lot of time thinking about it and sharing it in the past decade or so. And it's very therapeutic.
Oh my goodness, and it's very hard. I can't even do the last fold. Okay, what if I wanted to make a peace crane? Where will I go?
On my website,
Your
uh,
website, yeah?
peacecreamproject.org. There are downloadable guides. You can choose something easier too. I have how to fold a dove, which is easier. I think how to fold a heart is on there as well. Coloring pages for little kids. And on YouTube, we have a channel on YouTube too. If you just Google or YouTube, Google Peace Cream Project, you'll find videos, step-by-step videos
That show how to make a
to help.
crane, peace crane.
And speaking of that, I've met so many really inspiring teachers, and there's a guy in Tokyo who is working on a new like diagram that's printed on paper to make it easier to fold a crane. And I'm so excited about it. I keep telling him I'll help him, get it out there because he's got a group of school kids. He's a school teacher, and it's very precise, and I'll get you a sheet of the paper, Barbara, and you will be a successful origami folder in no time.
Well, I just love being with the group of people as they're all folding their cranes and they're all holding them up and they're saying, I did it, I did it. And I keep saying, well, here, do my last step. And I don't mind saying I need a little help because that's what I always believe helps us communicate. Somebody says something that you may not agree with. You may not agree with the political system that's going on right now. And they'll come up to you and tell you that. And you say, tell me more. I need to hear what's going on with you. And it allows that conversation to begin. And then I say, well, thank you. Can I tell you a little bit about me? Can I tell you I do Peace Podcast? Can I tell you why I believe peace is possible? And then we have a conversation. And peace folding cranes allows conversations. Have you
Yeah, it can
noticed
be a
that?
really collaborative effort, and everybody needs help. We're all infinitely stupid. It's just we just each know a little tiny bit,
Yeah,
and it's
well,
good to share with each other.
it's good to share with each other. Now, if we wanted to know more than you have shared today, and I went on your Wikipedia page and I'm just thinking, man, in your short life, have you created a way for people to heal, a way for people to express themselves, and a way for people to feel part of something bigger? Peace on our beautiful planet. So, what's your website so we can all find out about you and more about Peace Cranes?
Yeah, it's at peacecreamproject.org. I just started a thread on Substack or account on Substack. So there's a lot of conversation going on there too. That's peacecraneproject.substack.com. So that's a good way to reach us. Otherwise, just fold a crane. You
And
don't need me.
just otherwise, just fold a crane. Sue, I can't thank you enough for being on today. And I know we almost didn't get it to happen because internet sometimes didn't want to get you to notify you. And anyway, long story short, we started something big in Santa Barbara. You were nominated for the Peace Prize. The Sadako Peace Gardens go on. If we can do it in our community, why don't you do it in your community? Start a group of children making peace cranes and go to peacecraneproject.org and you will be able to make them too. Sue, do you have a last word or a dream for our planet as we finish up today?
Dream for our planet. Well, I think it's a universal dream that we all get along and enjoy the abundance. I mean, if we just learn to work together, we live in a paradise, and it's up to each of us to make it so.
And you're never too old. I was telling Susan, I'm 18 years older than she is, and all of a sudden I'm realizing I have a purpose bigger than me, and I am so delighted. So this young woman can do it, and I can do it. Why can't you? So as you listen today to peacepodcast.org, or before you do, invite three friends to listen with you, maybe three children to listen with you, so that you can create peace cranes. And all you have to do is go to her website. I'm pretty excited about the fellow who's doing the dot to dot so we can make them together. And I'm just so excited you joined us. You 2,000 plus people who keep watching me every week make my heart so full because the inspiring that messages that each podcast guest brings is something that is there for you to learn from, to discover, and to feel proud about yourself. You are the miracle that God created. And I'm Barbara Gon Mueller, and I love you and I thank you. And join us next week. Thank you again, Sue.
Thank you.
It was my pleasure.